Chapter 1. Perhaps I have trained myself to see what others overlook. Sherlock Holmes, A Case of Identity. Chicago, November 1923. Sunday night, and she was late beyond redemption. Professor Annalee Spain grabbed her bulging satchel off her desk, stuffed in her notes, checked the streetcar schedule, brushed lint off her good black suit, actually her only suit, and dared turn back to... what? To pray? As if prayer, of all things, would get her what she needed, let alone what she wanted. But no time to bother over that. She'd do better to answer the knock rattling the devil out of her splintered, freezing, rent-by-the-week rooming house door. Tap, 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 tap. "Hold on, little bit," she called out. One of her kids. They pestered her all hours, begging for pencil stubs, scraps of paper, even her Sherlock books. The Tyler boy downstairs had scarfed down every Holmes story twice. "Coming!" No answer. Curious. It was 11:15 on the last November Sunday in a merciless year. She'd lost her rainy day job, was barely getting by with her half-paid first. Then, in the cold way of hard life, she'd opened her door 1 year ago, expecting her hard-luck father finally coming to visit, but instead was handed a crumpled telegram. He was dead, regrettably. Or was Joe Spain killed? Lord, that question. It never released her, insisting that she had loved him, and that was why she still missed him? But every regrettable day? Tough questions weren't her business tonight. Instead, she despaired for the 45 minutes and counting left to deliver her latest paper, God, let them approve it, to a British publisher's Chicago office by midnight. Hard deadline. But her stipend for it, despite the trouble, would be waiting in a narrow envelope at the publisher's first-floor desk. Tap, 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 tap. But first, that infernal knocking. She tossed down her satchel, jostling India ink, riled to see thick dribbles soak into her piles of papers, her notebooks and newspapers, her table, the satchel. She groaned, knowing she could scoff at her mishap if she weren't so desperate. Instead, she threw a ragged towel across the inky trail and trudged to her cold door. Then she heard the warbling voice. "Professor Spain?" Her name, but muffled. "Who's there?" No answer. "State your business." "Western Union." She tensed. This late on a Sunday night, in a brawny Chicago snowstorm, not even Western Union would dare to deliver, even if she'd wanted the insult of another telegram. Why no good news? She pondered. A thank you note? An early Christmas card? She eyed the door. Even a love letter? She glanced in her cracked mirror, winked at herself, but shook her head, jostling her wild black curls. What a foolish idea. She'd never known love or received such a letter. She couldn't even imagine what one would say. Instead, she took in a hard breath, faced the door, pressed her young shoulder into the crumbling frame, unlatched all but one cheap lock, then opened with caution her warped door. A thin sliver of watery light edged into the pitch-black hallway. What stood on the other side looked drowned or half dead, or maybe both. A shrunken figure, half a foot shorter than her, and wrapped in too many moth-eaten coats, plus knee-high work boots, thick leather gloves, a worn plaid scarf, a soiled knit cap pulled low, stood before her. "Professor Spain?" The muffled voice again. She peered at the coat pile. "What on earth?" she whispered. As if in response, a grimy hand unwrapped and unwrapped and unwrapped and unwrapped the scarf, and finally a small face emerged. A boy. A white boy.